It helps you to take what you're doing and to connect it to something bigger, something greater, expanding on our courage, our motivation, our ability to take very direct, decisive action in order to create our own opportunities, to actively do something, to create opportunities in our reality through our actions. Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another super special extended astrology forecast. This one is for the entire Jupiter and Aries transit, which begins on May 10th of 2022 and lasts all the way through to May 16th of 2023. That's right, this is a year-long transit, and it's about to start. It's starting very, very soon on the exact same day that Mercury stations to go retrograde in the sign of Gemini, which I'll be covering in a separate video next weekend. But in this video, we're going to be discussing the fact that Jupiter is shifting from its home sign of Pisces, where it expands on hope and optimism, and it has this ability to create beauty and abundance and luck and good fortune in a way that is, for the most part, uninhibited. When it moves into the sign of Aries, things shift. This isn't necessarily a terrible thing. However, Jupiter is, under Mars, like Mars's rules, Mars's rulership. And Mars is a very different energy than Jupiter. Mars is about action and willpower and volition. It's a very reactionary energy. It represents our autonomic nervous system, our fight or flight response, the way that we instinctually not respond, but react to things in our environment. And so Jupiter moving into the sign of Aries is going to be a very energized transit, but it's also going to be a very visceral energy. It's going to be a very reactionary energy in a lot of ways. This is also an energy that is expanding on our courage, our motivation, our ability to take very direct, decisive action in order to not just take advantage of opportunities that come to us, but to actually create our own opportunities, to actively do something, to create opportunities in our reality through our actions. This is an awesome thing. And so I love that about Jupiter moving into Aries. I love that it is going to be a very passionate time. Also still a very optimistic time, because Aries is a sign that's very optimistic, very willful, very ambitious, very driven and goal-oriented, especially when it comes to this Jupiter energy, which gives you sort of a sense of perspective, the ability to take a step back and see your ambitions, what's driving you, that driving, motivated sort of energizing force from this bird's eye view, from this altered higher perspective. It helps you to take what you're doing and to connect it to something bigger, something greater, something that's aligned maybe with not just your integrity, but with a higher value system, with a higher sense of meaning and purpose. And so all of these things are potentials under Jupiter transiting the sign of Aries. But kind of the biggest thing with this is that it is an energy that will be amplifying that energy of the rulership of Aries, of the dispositor of this Jupiter transit in a lot of ways too, because Jupiter is under that rulership. Jupiter has to work within those confines. And so it's not going to be about kind of sitting back and just envisioning the dreams that we have for ourselves, or taking advantage of opportunities that sort of synchronistically fall into place, like that Jupiter and Pisces sort of vibe. It's more about actually actively engaging and doing something with the energy, or with our own natural abilities, because this is what we're doing of our own volition. People are going to be feeling much more independent, much more willful. I would say that sovereignty and freedom are going to be big key words throughout this time, because people are going to be feeling very motivated to do what they want to do, because they want to do it and they feel like that's what's right for them. And it could also be an energy too, like where people might be feeling, and we could see this more on a collective level, that like what's right for me must be right for everyone, which we kind of already have a little bit of that going on in society these days. So I kind of, it's interesting to think about how that could be carried forward even more so. But I could definitely see that being a thing, because this is really about like not just taking action for, the good of all, which is that Jupiter and Pisces energy. It's about, okay, good of all, higher purpose, all of this, but what's in it for me? And sometimes that's a good thing. A lot of you who are viewers on this channel, you're very spiritually driven, you're very connected and compassionate, and you have a lot of concern for the needs of other people. And sometimes you need to have a little bit more concern for your own needs, your own motivations, your own passions, your own driving force. And so for people who lack in that respect, this could be a really powerful energy that motivates you to get in touch with you and what you want and who you are as a sovereign individual, and how with that knowledge and understanding, you can contribute to the world in a greater way. So yeah, it's about like, what are your unique talents? What are your unique passions? What are your ambitions and goals? And how does that create or contribute to kind of the bigger picture, the grand scheme of things? So so that's kind of a big part of the energy. So, but before we get into kind of the details, because there's a lot to unpack here, I just want to mention, for those of you who are new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because I do a new extended forecast, 2-week forecast, whatever, most Saturdays at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, so you don't want to miss that. And so, yeah, and even if you're not new to my channel, the way that I structure these videos is that I start with a 5 to 10 minute general overview of the energy for the entire period we're covering. And so don't skip this, because this is going to provide an important context for the discussion when we get into your forecast for all 12 signs. Speaking of which, when we do get into the forecast for all 12 signs, make sure you listen to your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign to get a more holistic overview of the energy for the entire next year ahead. Your rising sign will be the most predominant energy, your sun sign will be secondary, and your moon sign is important to listen to as well, although this energy will be a little bit more internalized and subjective. Finally, at the end of each video, I typically do a 2 to 3 minute overview of next week's forecast, or the next forecast I'm going to be presenting. In this one, I'm going to discuss a little bit about Jupiter dipping back into Pisces, which is something that we're about to get into here. And so if you want to learn what that's going to be like in October through December of this year, stick around until the end of this video. All right, and so kind of getting back into the nitty gritty. So Jupiter and Aries gave you kind of the big picture, general, like this is what it's going to feel like. But there's some details here. So this is a year-long transit. And Jupiter is moving into Aries on May 10th, and it's going to actually stay in Aries only through October 27th before it dips back into the sign of Pisces, which is going to give us one more period of like hope and optimism and opportunity, and that sort of good, it's kind of like this good feeling like, oh, things are shifting, things are going to be better, things are, maybe going back to normal or whatever. That's kind of been the vibe since Jupiter moved into the sign of Pisces. I would say that with Jupiter moving forward into Aries, I don't think we're going to regress back into exactly where we were before, but I will say that we're going to be moving into something different. And so it's not going to be the same type of like hopeful, pie in the sky sort of energy. We're going to have, it's going to almost feel like, all right, things have shifted, things have changed, and now we have some work to do. Now we have something that we need to take action on. So it's going to be a different energy, kind of big picture and grassroots when it comes to our individual experience with this energy. But that Jupiter in Aries, it's just going to last for a few months, this first little dip in. So we're going to get a preview of what we're going to be going all in on in 2023, especially because Jupiter moves into Aries fully for the last time on December 20th of this year. So we get that taste of the energy. We get to see what it's going to be expanding on in all of our lives in one way or another. And then it kind of retracts and pulls away, and we get more of that good, Jupiter and Pisces energy that we've been experiencing. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you check out my video on the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, which is ongoing, still active right now, and will be reactivated October through December. And you'll get a better understanding of that. But while Mars is transiting the sign of Aries this first time around, it's not really making a lot of really crazy aspects. It's only going in about 8 degrees, and it'll actually station to go retrograde on July 28th. When it does, though, it's actually a really nice energy. It's going to be in trine with the new moon in Leo, so in trine with the sun and moon on that day. I'm pretty excited about that. You know, at 8 degrees in the sign of Leo, so if you're somebody who has a lot of energy, sun, moon, or rising around that 8th degree in Leo or in any of the fire signs, this is going to be like a really powerful new beginning where anything that you feel driven toward, anything that lights you up in a visceral, very, you know, almost tangible way, you're going to be able to initiate it, move forward with it, make it happen. And so I love, love, love this energy. And again, this is around July 28th when Jupiter stations to go retrograde. When Jupiter is in retrograde, it tends to expand on things more internally as opposed to externally. And it's kind of where we have to go back and revisit the things that we expanded on during the time that Jupiter was direct. So when Jupiter is direct, it's about outward expansion, outward momentum, external growth, external opportunities that you create or bring in. I think more it's going to be us creating our own opportunities with this energy, of course, but sometimes opportunities can come in, and we'll talk about that and what that looks like for you when we get into the forecast for all 12 signs. But usually the first pass of Jupiter over a certain degrees that it passes over can bring not too much momentum, but it's almost like we overextend ourselves or overexpand on something. And in this particular circumstance with Jupiter and Aries, this is an energy of overreacting to things, overdoing it, becoming overly driven, overly self-motivated, overly focused, overly ambitious to the point where we might overextend ourselves. And so I could see, you know, this leading to burnout for a lot of people, especially for certain signs, you know, my own sign included. So it's something to be aware of. And when Jupiter goes retrograde, it's kind of a time where we're going to have to look back from July through December and say, did I really need to go this far? Was this really an appropriate reaction? Because we're going to be very reactionary with this Jupiter and Aries, in more of an enthusiastic, positive way, I would say, like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever, you know, seen, and I'm going to jump on it right now, and I feel so motivated and so excited. And it's like, whoa, like rein it in. It's not that crazy. And if you make it that crazy, when Jupiter goes retrograde, you're going to be like, maybe I should retract a little bit. Maybe I should cut back on this. Maybe I should focus on some inner reflection and inner work and figuring out more about me and kind of my own goals, my own ambitions, what's actually driving me to create and do these things, to move forward with these opportunities, and are these opportunities actually for me? So, you know, that first lunge in is going to be very enthusiastic. There's going to be like kind of a more pulling back. And then we're going to go into that Pisces energy, which will give us a little break from all of the enthusiasm. And then we'll move forward again in December. The only major aspect that is kind of, you know, staring us in the face that's going to happen while Jupiter is transiting the sign of Aries is, of course, the fact that Chiron's in Aries. And so Jupiter is going to come into a conjunction with Chiron. This is not happening until March of 2023. And when it does happen, we're going to be dealing with a lot of shift. The global energies are just nuts, you guys. March of 2023 is, oh my goodness. When I was looking at this, I was like, what the heck is going to be happening? Everyone's going to be in a state of flux and transition. And on a global scale, I think we're going to see some major shifts in the world around us. And of course, we'll talk about each piece of this puzzle as we get closer to it, because Saturn will be moving into the sign of Pisces, which is going to be an interesting energy. And then we're going to have Pluto shifting into the sign of Aquarius, which is absolutely huge. This is like a monumental thing. Like, Pluto doesn't shift signs very often. It has a 250-year cycle. And so when it does, it really changes the trajectory of kind of the global state of affairs and the global focus. And it's a generational energy. So the new generation that comes in shifts in correspondence with that energy. It's a whole thing, and we'll talk about that. But we also have Jupiter coming into that conjunction with Aries and an eclipse season going on all at once, you guys, all at once. wild energy. But in terms of the Jupiter conjunction to Chiron, Chiron is the wounded healer. It represents our innate wounds, vulnerabilities, insecurities, guilt, shame, trauma, things that have occurred in our lives. There's an innate wound there where we're already kind of extra sensitive in that area, but there's usually this initial trigger or this energy in our childhood that exposes it and causes us to feel that shame or that guilt or that vulnerability or that insecurity about ourselves. And so on a collective level, this is going to really expand on and expose and amplify the collective wounds that we're dealing with as a society, especially after everything that's occurred over the past few years. I mean, I can get into that a little bit more, but I can kind of see where this is going to be, what this is going to look like in a lot of ways. I would say that there's going to be a lot of protesting, a lot of pushes towards social change in a variety of different ways. I would say that, you know, especially, yeah, it's going to be an exposure of like this collective wound that needs healing. It needs to be exposed. It needs to be, you know, brought out into the open even more so. But I think it's actually going to be a more positive experience than it has been in previous years. Whereas, you know, before, yeah, there's a lot of commotion, but there's like nothing actually changing or occurring or actually healing. I think in this particular case, we could see a global or collective healing around certain issues in our society. And on a personal level, we could see this expanding on something that causes us to feel vulnerable or causes us to maybe feel triggered in some way. However, it's going to bring it out in a way that's very easy to work with. It's very easy to see and understand from that, again, that broader bird's eye perspective. That's what Jupiter brings into the mix. And it's going to be very easy to understand how to heal through these wounds. And with Jupiter being this energy of the wise teacher, wisdom, right? It expands on our wisdom. It's going to bring a deep inner knowledge that can be expanded externally to teach other people and to guide them through the same processes that we've been through when it comes to our own traumas, our own healing, our own maybe even physical illnesses and things like that too, depending on how this is showing up in your chart. And so I love this energy because it brings a profound period of healing. I don't love it because it's going to feel uncomfortable for a lot of people, and it's occurring at the same time as a lot of really turbulent energy and some major societal shifts that are occurring like all at once in the course of like a month or two, right? This is going to be like a big like point of all of a sudden one cycle's ending and we're shooting off into this new cycle, and it's going to be wild, you guys. So the fact that it's occurring during that tells me that it's not going to in the moment feel as good or as comfortable as it could, and that it's just something we need to be aware of. So, you know, March 2023 into April, a little before and after that even, just have that awareness and just know that, you know, some stuff's going to go down. And especially if you are somebody being hit by this Jupiter Chiron energy, which we'll talk about, you're going to be going through a profound shift and a profound healing during that time period as well. Finally, in May of 2016, Jupiter actually shifts into the sign of Taurus. And when it does, immediately after, on May 17th, it squares Pluto, which will then be in Aquarius. So Jupiter actually does not square Pluto while it's in Aries. So even though Aries or Pluto right now is in the sign of Capricorn, it's gonna, because it's at the end degrees, and Jupiter's not going to hit the end degrees of Aries until, you know, April and May of 2023. It's actually not going to hit Pluto while it's in the cardinal signs. And so this is going to create a fixed square, which again is another big impactful energy. And we'll talk about that as we get closer to it, because there's a lot to unpack here, as I said before, and I'll be here with you every step of the way. But yeah, this Jupiter energy, very expansive, very motivating, very willful. I like it for a lot of reasons. This is where it's kind of like, you know, you're pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and you're making things happen for yourself. And I think for a lot of people that is needed. For other people, it might be more of the same and too much. So we could see people taking it to extremes. But for the most part, because it's Jupiter, because it's a benefic energy, if they do take it to extremes, they could do it in a way that creates opportunities for others through connecting with their passions. So love that. And yeah, that's kind of what we're getting into. So before we get into the forecast for all 12 signs, I just want to remind you guys that I have a free gift for you. As this is being released right now, we're in the middle of an eclipse season, and I have my Karmic Power of Eclipses webinar, a 2-hour webinar that dives deep into the astrology of eclipses in your birth chart, the pre and postnatal eclipse, eclipses when they actually occur by transit in your birth chart. What does it all mean? These are some of the biggest, most life-changing energies that you can experience, and I want you guys to be able to navigate it. And so this is absolutely free. You can actually get instant access down at the link in the description below. And that's my gift to you to kind of carry you through eclipse season. Even if you're watching this later on down the line, I'll keep the link open for you, even though this is more of an eclipse opportunity for everyone, just because I know this is going to be up for like a year. But yeah, so that's it. Let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning, of course, with Aries. All right, and for Aries rising, Jupiter is moving into your sign. That is great news for you, of course, because it's going to bring luck, opportunities, good fortune, and expansion to you personally. This is your time to shine. Anything that you want to create, anything that is aligned with your goals, your direction, your orientation in life, your purpose, this is a time where it's actually okay to be self-serving, even when we're talking about maybe overdoing it with that energy of Jupiter in the sign of Aries. This is about you. This is about you maximizing your potential. This is about you achieving your biggest goals, your biggest ambitions. This is about what lights you up and makes you feel motivated on that visceral, passionate level, and expanding on that. This is about joy. This is about play. This is about you doing what you want to do because you want to do it, and actually having the opportunity or having a lot of new opportunities come your way that will be presented to you, so that way you can move forward with your plans. This is also a time for Aries of great healing, both physically and, you know, on all levels really, but this is a time where, especially in that second half of the Jupiter transit through the sign of Aries that we talked about at the start of this video, where Jupiter conjuncts Chiron, this could be a time where you go through a profound period in 2023, especially at the start of 2023, of emotional, psychological, and even physical healing. This is where your health and vitality can increase due to the exposure and amplification of core issues that haven't been addressed or that need to be addressed. This could also be where you come into your own as a healer, where your experiences, your hardships, your own processes that you've had to go through to overcome adversity or challenge can serve you in helping other people to heal in the same way. You could show up to become a really profound teacher, someone who shares wisdom about these types of experiences in a really big way. And this is a time where the spotlight could be on you to actually start doing something like that. And so you might start feeling that the first time around, the first pass of the Jupiter in Aries transit over the next few months, but this is a really big energy, especially coming into 2023, where you shift into more of the position of the authority and the healer after you heal through your own issues, your own traumas, your own insecurities. It could be issues around your body, feeling awkward in your own skin, not feeling good enough, not feeling attractive enough, not feeling whatever enough, and realizing that you are enough. And so I love this energy for Aries, and really this provides opportunities in all areas of life for Aries. This could be new opportunities opening up to you in relationship that you create, because this is again of your own volition in the first house. This is about you creating opportunities for yourself, but it's almost like you could create opportunities that provide the right, like, fertile ground to expand on really profound and really even healing relationships, but really just important relationships where you can have a good mutual understanding and respect for one another. This could be the catalyst you need to shift into the career that you want to create for yourself, to get the recognition that you need in order to achieve that success, or to make a shift involving your family or your home dynamic. Just know that during this time, you are going to be a big energy. You're already in Aries. You already have a big energy, but this is going to be like massive. This is the kind of thing where when you are in a room, you are felt, you are seen, you are heard, you're like a tornado of energy that's just swirling around, and everyone's going to be like, whoa, what just happened? And this could be great because you could be a catalyzing force for a lot of people, but just know that you're going to be more energized and you're going to be expressing that a lot more. And so some people might be a little like taken aback by it. So, try your best to, express what you need to express, but just understand that not everyone's going to be, as receptive to that energy. So that's just kind of something to be aware of as well. But for the most part, people are going to be reacting more positively to you. And so I don't see that as being a huge issue for Aries and for Aries rising. All right. And then for Taurus and for Taurus rising, Jupiter is expanding on your inner world. This is about you growing on that internal, subjective, spiritual level. This is where you can have new opportunities for spiritual healing, spiritual growth, healing through karmic issues from your past and from past lives, especially as we come into that period in 2023, where Jupiter will come into a conjunction to Chiron. But basically what's going to be going on here is Jupiter's in your 12th house, which is the house of rest and relaxation. It's the house of reprieve. It's the house of solitude and seclusion. It's the house of kind of pulling yourself out of the day-to-day mundane reality, the tangible reality, and focusing more on your imagination, on your inner world, on developing those skill sets. And that's something that you can expand on very intentionally and very willfully. Even though it's kind of an internal thing, it's like almost like an externalization of it where you're going to tap into your creative potential, you're going to tap into your spiritual potential, and you're going to be able to utilize that for something very active, something very external as a result of the work that you're going to be doing over the next year. This could be a time where you could just use this for spending some time in rest and relaxation, focusing on you, your own needs, your own desires, your own inner world, and what you need in order to feel replenished when Jupiter comes and hits your sign in Taurus, which will happen in May of 2023. So it's almost like this like inner nourishing, replenishing period that will be externalized. And it's kind of like a needed time for that internal growth, so that way you can have that external expansion in just about a year. So that's really exciting. And this is a time, like I mentioned before, with Jupiter conjunct Chiron, that you might be going through a process of spiritual rebirth or spiritual healing, where it could be like something subconscious. It could be that you have to let go of a lot of things from your past. It could be a closing out. But it happens quite naturally and quite easily, especially as you do that inner work, that spiritual work, that creative work. You realize that these cycles are coming to an end, and you can very easily let them go in favor of new opportunities. Okay, so for Gemini and for Gemini rising. So for Gemini, this energy is happening in your 11th house, which is the house of friends, group associations, networks, people that you surround yourself with by choice. It's also, if you're somebody who's like an entrepreneur or a business owner, this could be the money that comes in through your business, maybe not your personal income, but your sales revenue or something along those lines. If you're somebody who sells a product or a service of some kind, which is most businesses, what are you selling if you're not doing that, I guess? And so basically, through your hard work, you being very goal-driven, very ambitious, you maybe even taking on a leadership position within, a group or a network or an organization that you're a part of, or that you're maybe even creating, you could create more resources, or more money could come in through your business if you are a business owner. This could even be something along the lines of your company is growing and expanding and more money's coming in, and that could be fruitful to you in some way as well. This is also where you're going to be expanding on your social circle. And so you're going to have a lot of social activity, which is great for Gemini. Geminis love to be social. This is you expanding on your social circle, and you're going to be kind of like the driving and motivating force that brings people together. It's almost like you're stepping up and taking on this role within your social circle to collaborate and create and facilitate more connection between maybe different groups of people or just your friends in general. You're taking like a stand and saying, hey, we should meet every single month or every single week for like a potluck, or to do this or to do that, or to talk about things. That could be a really great way to use this energy. This could also be a really great time, especially in 2023, for you to join some sort of group around healing. So maybe like a group therapy type of situation. This could also be you leading something along those lines, or it could simply be you healing through your own innate wounds, vulnerabilities, insecurities around being a part of a group. It could almost be like anything that occurred in childhood that made you feel socially awkward or isolated, or like you weren't good enough or you weren't really part of the crowd. This is something that you might have to acknowledge and work through and realize, hey, I'm myself, I'm an independent person, I'm different, and that's okay. And to feel more comfortable expressing you within those social, situations. And so this could be a really important time for that, and a time where you could inspire and help others to do the same. Okay, and so for Cancer and for Cancer rising. So for Cancer, this energy is happening in your 10th house, which is a great place to have Jupiter transiting the sign of Aries, because the 10th house is about your goals and your ambitions. It's about what you're doing in your career and in your work life. But it could also be, what you want in terms of your legacy that you leave behind after your working years. If you're somebody who's not working or who doesn't intend to ever work, that's fine too. It's your relationship with people in positions of power and authority, and it's the way you're seen and viewed kind of in a more grand sense, like on a, not necessarily on a global scale, because that's not going to be everyone, but like in the eyes of the public. So whatever that means to you. And so this could be you expanding on that. This could be you putting yourself out there. Whatever you feel passionate about, optimistic about, driven toward, wherever you feel that visceral excitement and desire and this momentum churning, especially in the area of career and work, you are going to be able to create some really profound opportunities for yourself. And that's going to start this year. You're going to start feeling it. You might go a little too far at the beginning, or a little too hard, and you might have to kind of rein it back in a little bit and just kind of take a step back and reevaluate, at the tail end of this year, especially, July through December, after that initial growth period. But once you do that, and once you've really refined the impact you want to make and what you want to create out in the world, you're going to be an unstoppable force. And in 2023, you could go through a period of healing around maybe your public reputation. It could be for some of you that there, were rumors flying around at one point, or you felt uncomfortable with the way society saw you, or there was some sort of shame or guilt or vulnerability or insecurity that stemmed from a relationship with an authority figure, or some maybe just insecurity around you stepping into your natural role as a leader that you need to actually move more into over the course of the next year. This is a time where you can find healing. And this is a time also, if you're somebody who's in one of the healing arts or the healing professions, that you can have a way bigger, more profound impact. You'll go through a period of healing, like heal thyself type of situation, where you're going to go through a period of profound healing through your own innate guilt, wounds, shame, vulnerability, insecurities around putting yourself out there. And once you put yourself out there, you're going to lead the way, and you're going to help others in a way bigger way than you were able to prior to this period. And so that's what's going on for Cancer. So for Leo and for Leo rising, so for Leo, this energy is happening in your 9th house, which is the house of foreign travel, foreign countries, higher wisdom. It's the perspective that you hold through your philosophical, ideological, and religious frameworks that shape your reality. This is going to be a very expansive and prolific time for you when it comes to acquiring wisdom, not just wisdom through book learning, but wisdom through your own direct experience, especially because this is Aries. Because you're a Leo, you're very experiential anyway when it comes to the way that you shape your worldview and understand your knowledge. You want to live it, you want to be it, you want to do it, you want to experience it. Very fiery, right? This is going to expand on that. It's also going to expand on opportunities for you to shift your perspective through travel, through connection with people who are from different backgrounds, different cultures, different religious, backgrounds and things like that as well, and to learn through those experiences. This could also be you coming into your own as a teacher and aligning yourself with your integrity when it comes to the information that you're sharing, the wisdom that you're sharing on a broader scale. This is also a time of profound healing. So if you have any wounds, guilt, shame, vulnerability, trauma, insecurity around your own intelligence or wisdom, if you have that around your ability to learn, your education background even, if you have that around, things like religion, right? That could be a big one for people who have Chiron in the 9th house. This is where you're going to heal through those old wounds and those old issues. And it's going to expand your horizons. It's going to expand on your ability to understand the world from a new perspective in a very profound way. And you can show up to heal other people or to help other people, to guide them through that same process that you're going through. So I love this for Leo. And for Leos, especially sun, moon, and rising, anywhere around 14 degrees. So I would say anywhere from 9 to 19 degrees, you could have a profound physical healing that comes through something that you learn, a new teacher or a new source of information that helps you to heal your body physically. So that's something to kind of think of or think about if it's applicable to you, especially coming into the start of 2023. Okay. And for Virgo rising. So for Virgo, this energy is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of death and rebirth, transformation, but it's also the house of other people's money that comes in through your partner's resources, through investments, through inheritance, through joint finances, through taxes and tax refunds, through insurance payouts, things like that. You might have some of these things. This could also be you actually taking the initiative to help your partner in some way and them reaping the rewards, and obviously you reaping the rewards of that as well on a physical and financial level. It could also be a period of time where just money starts coming in through outside resources, or you're able to pay off debts more easily, or an investment pays off, or you make some investments. This could be the seeding of making some sort of investment or buying an insurance policy or something along those lines that later on in the Jupiter cycle, which is a 12-year cycle, it starts to pay off for you in some way. This could also be you healing through some very deep emotional and psychological triggers and traumas, especially as you come into the start of 2023 when Jupiter hits Chiron. And so this is where your mental, your psychological, your emotional healing becomes very profound, where issues from your childhood that have been plaguing you and causing fear and anxiety that are underlying, that are exercising control over the decisions you make and the things that you do, these things are exposed and expanded on, but in more of a positive way, where it's like, I see it, it's here, and I can take this bird's eye perspective viewpoint of it, and I know exactly what I need to do to heal through this. If you are somebody who works in the field of psychology, especially, or any type of psychological or emotional healing art form, this is a time where your practice is going to grow and expand, but also you're just going to be a much better healer as a result of the processes that you're going through personally. So yeah, I love that for Virgo and for Virgo rising. And then for Libra and for Libra rising. So for Libras, Jupiter is transiting your 7th house, which is the house of relationship. This is the time where you could take the initiative to do something that expands on your current partnership, that makes it much more exciting, that expands on your independence in partnership as well, because that's something, as much as Libras love to be in relationship, they tend to first off draw, especially Libra risings, draw in partners that are a little bit more independent and self-sufficient, or they crave that in some ways. And so this could be, your partner expanding on their own independence, or you expanding on your independence in partnership. This could also be you doing something or initiating something or growing something in partnership with somebody else. This could also be a new relationship coming in, or a variety. like a whole sequence of new relationships coming in. And I don't mean that all romantically. You know, even if you're partnered, this is a time where new friendships can come in, new collaborations, new business partnerships, new connections in general that will benefit you in ways that you can't even imagine right now. And that will light a fire under you. It'll light that spark under you, because Libras in a lot of ways are motivated through their partnerships. And this is where your partnerships and the people that come in are going to bring that motivating driving force and expand on that tenfold. This is also a period, especially at the start of March, or the start of 2023 and into March especially, where you could be going through a profound healing around wounds, insecurities, vulnerabilities involving past relationships, past commitments, past connections with people where you felt like maybe you weren't good enough, or you had maybe a bad breakup or a bad relationship. This is a time where that energy is going to be expanded upon, but in a way where you can see it from this like bird's eye perspective, where you're like, wow, I understand now, I've gained perspective on this experience, and I know what I need to do moving forward to heal and to have better connections with people. If you're somebody who works in the healing arts, or if you're like a doctor or a medical professional even, this is where your practice could expand, or you could have major breakthroughs in your ability to work one-on-one and heal other people. All right. And then for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising. So for Scorpio, this is happening in your 6th house, which is the house of work, health, and daily routines. This is great news for your health. And so this is a time where you could start a new diet or exercise program, where you could get help from somebody who has wisdom or knowledge, or you could gain new wisdom and knowledge through your experience as a healer or through healing yourself in some way. And this is, yeah, I would say that this is a time where if you really want to focus in on and work on getting healthy, that you could have some profound changes. You're definitely going to have to, you know, do it of your own volition. This is where you're taking the initiative. This is where you are acting on your own will and not just sitting back and letting other people do it for you. But by taking that initiative, you could have a lot of really incredible benefits. So I love that. This is also where, if you are in a service or healing profession, the process that you're going through, especially at the start of 2023, of healing yourself physically especially, this could translate into you being able to show up to help other people to heal more fully and more completely. And so I love, love, love this for that. And this is also just where your work and your daily life becomes a little bit easier to manage and easier to deal with, where you have opportunities maybe to hire help. Maybe, you know, you have like kids running around everywhere and your life is chaotic and you're working. And finally you have this opportunity to maybe hire a housekeeper or get a nanny, or, you know, hire an employee for your business so you can take some of that workload off of you. This is one of the best times actually to hire people and to have other people assist you or help you in some way. So thinking about that into the coming year. And yeah, so that's what's going on for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising. For Sagittarius and for Sagittarius rising. So for you guys, this is a fun transit. I love it. So this is going to be expanding on your 5th house, which is the house of creativity. It's your creative self-expression. It's the house of joy. It's the house of spontaneity and entertainment and fun and things that you do because you love to do them. It's also the house that's associated with children and with play. And it's the house that's also associated with sex and sexuality. And so a lot of different things are being expanded on here. So first and foremost, this is a time where you're going to have more opportunities to do the things that you love, to experience joy, to expand on the things that you do because you love them and you want to do them, and you personally will benefit as a result. You might have a lot of personal opportunities that come in to connect with your passions and to embrace it and make it a bigger part of your path moving forward. This could also be you healing through childhood wounds or wounds around children that you might have or be holding on to based on past trauma, insecurity, vulnerabilities, things like that. And, you know, that could have a profound effect on not just you, your relationship with your inner child, but maybe your relationship with your own children. If you do have a damaged relationship with your children, this is a time where that could go through a big healing process, especially in the beginning of 2023, where it's almost like it's exposed, it's brought out into the open in a way that you could see it from a completely different perspective. And that shift in perspective is going to give you exactly what you need in order to know exactly how to heal. And so that could be really powerful. This could also be just a period of time in general where if you want children, you know, maybe this is what it's expanding on and you're able to make that a reality. Your relationship with your children can improve. You know, your interactions with children in general can improve. This is also the house that has to do with entrepreneurs because it's the house of creative self-expression. So if you create something out of your own passion, that's born out of your own volition, especially with that really strong Aries energy here, that can be expanded on. So maybe this is where you start a business or your business takes off in some way. And so that's what's going on for Sagittarius. And then for Capricorn and for Capricorn rising. So for Capricorn, this energy is happening in your 4th house, which is the house of home, family, property, real estate, your ancestors, your parents, all of it. All of this is subject to growth, expansion, optimism, opportunity, but these are opportunities that you have to create through your own volition. So it could be that, you know, you want to expand on your home very literally, buy a bigger home, buy a new home, renovate your home, put an addition on your home. This is a time where that might actually be a reality for you, where you can make it happen. This could just be a time where your home life gets a little easier to manage, or, you know, you just experience it more positively. This could be a time of improved relations with your family or with your parents, or this could be a time of expanding on your family very literally. So sometimes this will be something like, you know, adding a new family member or adding a pet to the home or something like that. But sometimes, you know, it's almost like having a better or closer connection with family members where a parent either moves in with you or moves like close to you, or you move closer to your ancestry, like your actual like parents. And it helps you in some way, or you benefit from that in some way, or that's a positive experience for you in some way. That won't be applicable to everyone, but to some people. This is also a time, especially as we get into the beginning of 2023, where if you are harboring resentment from your childhood experiences, if you have wounds, vulnerabilities, insecurities, trauma from your childhood, as we all do, issues with your parents, this is a time where it's going to be expanded on and exposed in a way that gives you that altered bird's eye perspective. So you'll know and understand exactly what's going on. You'll see how to heal through it, and you'll be able to not just heal yourself, but to lead others, especially your other family members who maybe had some sort of involvement in the situation. You can guide them and help them to heal in the exact same way that you're healing. So this is a really great energy for Capricorn in all of those ways. So for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius, this energy is happening in your 3rd house, which is the house of your community, your neighbors, your neighborhood. This is also short distance travel and transportation, especially like your day-to-day commute. I've seen time and time again with this kind of Jupiter energy in the 3rd house, things like purchasing a vehicle and your commute gets easier in some way, or a new like bus route opens up, or a new train stop, or whatever, if you're like in the city or something like that. And your commute, your travel time just gets easier. This could be also taking more short trips and kind of moving around a lot more within your immediate environment. This could be an expansion on your connection with your community. So maybe you have improved relations with your neighbors. You get to know your community better. You join or start some sort of community group or organization, and that benefits you in some way. This could also be a time where you could improve upon or maybe have some sort of benefit through your relationship with your siblings in particular, if you do have siblings. And so that could be something that could be really profound and really helpful to you in some way. And then you could actually heal through old like traumas, wounds, insecurities, difficulties involving siblings and extended family members, but especially siblings. So if there's like sibling rivalry going on, or you have some sort of damaged relationship, even if it's just a small little bit of damage, this is a time, especially at the start of 2023, that you could get that different shift in perspective, that bird's eye view on the situation, and know exactly what you need to do in order to heal and to guide other people to heal in the same way. This could be also you taking on a healing role, a role as a healer or a way shower in your community. And that could be really exciting for you and very helpful for the people around you. And if you have like a damaged relationship with like a neighbor or somebody in your actual community, this is a time where you can heal through that too. So I love this energy for Aquarius. This is also, by the way, if you're thinking about learning, like getting some sort of like smaller certification or learning something like a practical skill set in the healing arts, you know, psychological, emotional, physical, or otherwise, this is a time where that can come up for you, and that could be very, very beneficial. This is also a time where you could do like short content pieces like blogging, or something like a podcast, something more conversational, and launch into it, and it could go quite well for you too. All right. Finally, for Pisces and for Pisces rising. So for Pisces, this energy is happening in your second house of money. Everybody loves to hear that, right? Jupiter in the second house of money, expanding on resources, expanding on tangible physical comforts. That being said, it doesn't always mean a giant pile of money falling into your lap. What it may mean, and what it often means for people, is that new opportunities can come in, and especially in Aries, of your own creation, of your own volition, through you achieving or moving toward your goals and ambitions when it comes to what you want on a material level. What do you want your actual physical, tangible material life to look like? Like, what do you want to own? What do you want your home to look like? What kind of furniture do you want to have? What types of items do you want to acquire? What does your bank account look like in your ideal situation? These types of things are things that you should start thinking about, because these are things that you can start creating opportunities to move into while Jupiter's transiting your second house. This is also a time too where your financial situation, if it's been strenuous, can just ease up a little bit, and it can provide some breathing room. Oftentimes that's what will happen when Jupiter's in your second house. And yes, new opportunities to make money and expand on your wealth can come in during this time. I've also seen, though, that people tend to overspend and overextend themselves financially to purchase a lot of things that just are shiny and, you know, exciting in the moment. I would say maybe more overspending on experiences over things for you in particular in this transit, but it could be things as well. And so you just want to be careful. If money comes in, don't just like, you know, go wild with it unless that's something that you really feel called to do or you have the means to do, just because, you know, this is a year-long transit. When it's done, it's done. And then you're going to be like, all right, now I have these things, but do I need these things? Would it have been better to, you know, put it here or do that? Because this could be an energy of overdoing it, I would say, in that regard. But yeah, I mean, all in all, not a bad thing though. You have the money to spend, it's there. This could also be you healing through wounds, vulnerabilities, insecurities, you know, shame, guilt, all of that around not just material possessions. So maybe there's like a shame or a guilt around having money and enjoying your resources. So working on your actual like money mindset, that could be something, especially at the start of 2023, that could become a big thing for you. But also, you know, healing through like the second house is things that you own, but it's also like material things. And when it comes to the body, it's like food. It's the actual food that you eat. And I've seen plenty of times when people have Chiron natally in their second house, they have issues with food. You know, eating disorders or something along those lines, or maybe guilt or shame or a lot of issues around dieting and things like that. That might not be the case for you overall, but it could be, you know, while Chiron's in Aries, that you start to develop these issues, or you have some shame or guilt around food, or maybe there's like some sort of insecurity from your past of having a lack in that area. This is a time where you can heal through your relationship, not just with money, but also with food and with material objects in general, and feeling less guilt around maybe indulging in things from time to time. And that could be a profound area of healing for you. And that could be an area where you could help other people to heal as well. And so that's what's going on for Pisces. And so that's Jupiter in Aries. You know, as I mentioned at the start of this video, Jupiter is going to dip back into Pisces from October 27th of 2022 all the way through to December 20th of 2022. And that's where we're going to get that one last glimmer of hope and beneficial energy and opportunity in the Pisces area of our lives and charts. Go back to my video about Jupiter, Neptune conjunction in Pisces to get a better overview of that, because basically what's happening is there's going to be a reactivation of that Jupiter conjunction to Neptune where, yes, we're going to feel much more hopeful. Yes, we're going to feel much more interconnected. Yes, we're going to feel much more compassionate, but we're also going to be feeling much more sensitive. We're going to be feeling like we don't want to deal with the physical external reality of what's going on in our lives or in the collective. And it's a time where we might be more prone to escaping into fantasy, into illusion. We might not be seeing things as clearly as we might need to be seeing things or might want to be seeing things. It's a time of spiritual bypass and, you know, that type of thing as well. So kind of not just deliberately ignoring the reality of situations because it feels good in the moment. So that's something to just also be aware of. But for the most part, it's a time where we're going to feel much more creative, much more expansive, and we can tie up the loose ends when it comes to the opportunities that we dealt with through the entire Jupiter in Pisces transit. And especially when Jupiter hit that Neptune, something came up for us, for a lot of us, that we need to revisit or just do that final last little taking advantage of the opportunities there. I don't know how a better way to phrase this. It's getting to the end of the video. I've been talking for a really long time. But yeah, so that's what's going on there. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, comment also below and let me know how you're experiencing this energy as we go through that Jupiter and Aries transit, because I would love to hear from you. This is a once in a 12-year opportunity coming your way. And yeah, I would love to hear a little bit more about how it's impacting you. And if this video, you know, was helpful to you, share it with your friends if you think it'll be helpful to them. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.